I'm always doing like some weird shit in the very beginning of my recordings for some reason, but all right, y'all, vamos. So in this installment of Homeless for 2 weeks, I wanted to specifically address the search for shelter. Actually, no, I wanted to specifically talk about going to the city hall and seeking help there. In the initial video, I talked about like the first day, how everything like kicked off and what have you. That was July 1st. On July 2nd, I took off from work, which was very risky for me because I was a new employee. You know, like you're not advised to do that kind of thing when you first start off at the job, because you want to make it seem like you're always available and like you're solely dedicated to the job. And if I'm honest, I couldn't be with everything going on in my life, because it's like I was sitting at my desk at work, like hungry, sitting at my desk at work, stressed, like heartbeat accelerating, blood pressure high as fuck, like just really struggling. And then at the same time just coming to terms with this new transition that I was juggling. You know, it was just a lot of stuff. So on July 2nd, I told my boss, like my boss's boss, or I told him like, yeah, I gotta go, like I won't be able to come in today because I have to go take care of this stuff. And he told me that he understood, and I thought that was really cool. Long story short, I did come back into Evanston. The reason I came back into Evanston is because, well, one, I was still a resident there at the time, so I figured maybe I can just go to the city hall and see if there's anybody who can refer me to a resource I haven't tried or just help me. I sat outside initially, like my friend's mom dropped me off and then she went to work. I sat outside and I just gathered myself. I took a while to just sit there, clear my mind. In that time, I did make some phone calls. I called some more organizations, got some more phone numbers. And then I called the city manager. I was sitting outside the building, but I called the city manager because I was like, maybe I can like get ahead of the game and like maybe I can like book an appointment or something, and then like I can tell them I'll be there in a minute because I'm right outside. I get on the phone with the secretary of the city manager, or the assistant or something like that, and she tells me like, oh, he's not available right now, but if you give me your information then we can call you or something like that, and he'll get back to you. Because I told her I already emailed him. He's familiar with my case because he's the one who forwarded my information over to someone else, who then referred me to other people. So she wrote down my information and everything, but I never heard from the city manager. So I'm like, okay, maybe she thought that I was kidding when I said like I really do need to talk to the dude. But after like a couple hours or so, mind you, I've been sitting outside since like 8 o'clock in the morning or 7:30 or something like that in the morning, and I have been on the phone with organizations and stuff like that. But at a certain point I was like, okay, something's gotta give. So I decided when it was about 2 something in the afternoon or whatever, or 1 something in the afternoon, something crazy, like I had been sitting outside for a long time, I finally decided to go inside the civic center. I walked up the stairs and I bumped into somebody and I said, excuse me, do you know where the city manager's office is? She said, well, do you have an appointment? I said, yeah, I'm supposed to. Like, I contacted the secretary. She wrote my information down. She told me that they would call me when he's available in the afternoon. And she was like, oh, okay, well, he's upstairs, you know, go da 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 da. So I continued, and when I went upstairs, all the doors were closed. Like, I went all the way down the hall and I saw these people were sitting in a room all facing one direction. I couldn't see what direction or what they were looking at, but I figured maybe there's an important like town meeting or whatever. So I turn around, I noticed there's one door open, and that was the door of the assistant city manager, or I don't know like what her official title was, but she was not the secretary I spoke to on the phone. She was like her own woman, you know. Not that the secretary is in, but yeah, she was like, she had her own position basically as a city official. So I walked to her doorstep, and I asked her, like, I was out of breath and everything from those stairs, Lord have mercy, and I asked her if I could like gather myself for a moment. I was like, my name is Star Lady. I'm sorry, I have asthma, I just need a moment. And she was like she was like, why don't you just take a moment to gather yourself, and when you're ready you can just speak. Do you want to sit down? And I was like, oh, thank you so much, thank you. I'm really dramatic for no reason sometimes. But yeah, I sat down and I told her everything that happened, and or like a summary, you know, I gave her a nice chunky flavorful synopsis. And then she was like, I'm not going to tell you to go back to the same people that you've already been to. Instead, like, let me see if I can talk to someone who may be able to help you. She made a phone call, and she called somebody who was in the Parks and Recreation department, and she was like, he's gonna talk to you today, but he won't be able to talk to you until like, I don't know, like 3:30 or something like that. So I said, it's fine, I've been waiting outside all damn day, so I will continue to wait, you know. And she told me that I could go sit in this little cafeteria. I went there. There was no food. It was like a break room. So I went there, I chilled, and then when it was time to meet the person, I went to meet the person. This is where it gets so interesting for me. So the person called me in. He sat me, or I sat down in the room, and then like a total of 2 people came in. It was the guy, and then it was his partner who she introduced herself to me, he introduced himself to me, and asked me what happened. They were like, okay, so the person who actually deals with like the finding housing, especially for youth and stuff, she's coming. And then that person came in, and then I had to re-explain everything to this person. It turned, like, this is when it got even more interesting, because it turned out that they all knew who my family was, and 2 of the people there went to school with Outlet's dad. So they knew like, she knew his father, she knew him, she had been to his house several times. So when they asked me, like, who is this person, I said the name, they started laughing. They were like, are you serious? And I was just like, I don't get the joke. But apparently, like, I don't know, it's just interesting how word travels in this town, you know, and how small it is, because you just never know who knows you. So anywho, they were like, oh, now that I know who it is, I want to make a call to him personally. They told me a lot of stuff that, in a way, it gave me some relief, but at the same time I was still like as stressed as ever, you know, with the situation at hand. One of the things that they told me is that since I was a resident at that location, at that home, he could not just text my phone and tell me, you gotta go. They were like, that's not an eviction notice. He needs to go to the courts, and he needs to tell the courts that he needs to evict you, and then he needs to provide you with a court-ordered eviction notice. And he knows this. As I said, he has served people countless eviction notices that I prepared as the secretary or assistant, you know, doing data entry work for him. So when they told me this, I'm like, interesting. She was like, as long as you're still receiving mail there, he cannot tell you that you have to go. That was like one thing. And then on top of that, she tells me, oh my god, like, I wish I could remember every little thing, but she told me, like, you can go back into that house, you can go get all your belongings, put them back in your room, you do not have to go anywhere. Now, while that would have been comforting for me to know and accept, I decided, nah, I still don't want to go back. Like, I personally just don't want to stay there. Long story short, she told me that they need to get on the phone with him. They want to let him know what's going on. So she went to make a phone call with him. She tells him, actually, I don't even know what she told him, because I wasn't in the same room, but She goes to make a phone call, she fills him in on stuff, and then after I would say like 15 minutes or so, she comes back and he says that he didn't know, or she told me he didn't know that I was like seeking help at all. He didn't know that I was looking for help with it when it came to the move. I'm like, so you really thought that I was out here like trying to move on my own? With what resources? With what money, sir? Apparently or allegedly, like, he said that he didn't want to involve the courts at all. He had no interest of taking me to court or going to court, because she told him, like, if he, based on the record and how he's been treating me up until that moment, I could take him to court because I could sue him for wrongful eviction and what have you. So he told her, no, I don't want to involve the courts. But then he told her this. Then he told her that I want 24 hours or so to come up with an agreement, to write up some kind of plan. I guess he said something like, I don't want to involve the courts. I don't want to see her on the street. I will let her stay in the house for 1 more month. Since I already hired the contractors to tear up the room, she's going to have to stay in a different room. However, she can stay for another month. She will need to pay me rent for that month. And then by the end of that month, so basically by the end of July, if I don't have a place of my own, he is going to have to take me to the courts and evict me. So this is my thing. How do you go from saying that you don't want to involve the courts? How do you go from saying that you don't want to involve the courts? How do you go from saying that you don't want to see me in any kind of trouble and stuff, to then saying, oh, I will let her stay for 1 more month. However, if she doesn't figure something out in a month, I am going to have to take her to the courts. Thank you for showing your ass to me, sir, once again. Because what you just revealed to me, and I don't know if it was clear to anybody else, but it was fucking crystal clear to me, that this was about power. This was a power move. I say that because if you really didn't want to go to the courts, you would not make tone such a subject to mention having to take me to the courts a month later. If I couldn't figure out where I was going to stay in 3 months, why do you think I would have figured it out in 1 more month? Especially if I have to continue to pay you $375, which is part of the reason I didn't have any funds to go anywhere else in the first place, which you know. So it's once again crystal clear to me who this person really is and what his character really is. He doesn't want to help me. He does not want to help me, because if he did, he would not mention having to take me to the courts. What he didn't want was to be the one brought to the courts. So on top of that, you then throw this fake eviction my way, this text me this as eviction notice, this 90-day notice, on top of not giving me my fair share, not giving me my cut. Okay. So then you decide to show your ass even more when you tell this person, you're going to give me 1 more month. You're going to help me out by letting me stay with you for 1 more month. But then you want to take $375 from me once again. So how does that help me? If I stay giving you all my money that I'm earning, this bum ass retail job is not paying me much at all, which you know, because you've made fun of that several times. So you know that I'm not like doing too well, that I'm not earning very much, and you don't care about that. Again, you don't care. So that's why when they're telling me in the room, like, it's either you go back to that house for another month and we can help you find a place to stay. We can find out, like, we could find something for you in that month. It gives us more time. It gives us more time. What I was trying to explain to them is I would rather go to the homeless shelter. At this point, I would rather go to the homeless shelter than stay in this man's house. On top of the fact that he hired the contractors to come do the place and that I would have to stay in another room, There's also the fact that I had been uncomfortable in that house since April 1st. I had been uncomfortable in that house. I now would be in a different room, taken out of my element. And then it's like all this stuff just went down. So I already know it's going to be a weird tension for the next month. Why would I want to stay there? And I'm so grateful for my therapist, because my therapist was real as hell. I'm not going to say like realer than anything and anybody else, but she said what she said to me, I didn't hear from anybody else. My therapist said to me, do not go back to that man. She said, when I met you, the first thing that you showed me was your dignity. This is about power. Do not go back to that man. She said, you take your belongings and you go anywhere else, but you do not go back to that place. And I thank her, because I didn't have intentions of going there anyway. However, everybody else kept telling me, oh, at least it's an option. It wouldn't be that bad. And it's because they don't understand. They don't understand what it's like to have somebody take advantage of you, try to appeal to you by getting close to you and getting involved with your personal matters. You know, this is someone who decided to go help me find my foster mom, to go knock on her door and figure out if she still lived there. This is someone who encouraged me to go to my family on Mother's Day to give my mom a gift. This is someone who got close to me, got into my heart, got into my mind about the issues that I truly struggle with, about the things that burden me, about the sorrow that I have within me. This is someone who got a glimpse of that, and then took advantage of me in all of these other ways when it came to the work that I did for him. When it came to my ignorance, took advantage of the fact that I just didn't know. I didn't know that I didn't have to be stressing about this eviction, because all the while there wasn't a real, like, I didn't have like a lease. I didn't even have like proof of residency there. So I'm tripping this entire time as if I actually legally was obligated to leave by July 1st. And he knew that. He knew it was a fake eviction. He knew everything in advance, that like when it comes to what he was doing. He knew that he just wanted to benefit from me. He just was going to take advantage of my ignorance, take advantage of my kindness, of the fact that I will offer to help you whenever I can. He was just going to use me over and over and over again, which is another reason why in the days, I want to say after, I want to say like, it was like July 10th or something like that, I get a message and he's like, I hope that you're doing okay. What is wrong with people? I really just don't understand. What is wrong with people? I don't get that. Like, how do you treat someone so disrespectfully? How do you treat someone terribly? How do you, and I'm not saying he like held me at gunpoint or anything like that, but you did take advantage of me. You did make it seem like you cared more than you really did. And that, I think, that was his way of trying to cover up the fact that he had no intent of helping me if it didn't mean he couldn't help himself more. It's like, I don't understand how you could text me and say, oh, I hope you're doing okay. But then look at everything that has happened. Look at everything. And I don't just mean since April 1st. I mean even prior to April 1st. I just, that's crazy to me, you know? But I went to City Hall, just circling back. And I would say that, like, I didn't feel or sense that I was like moving in a better direction after that day. You know, ultimately my friend and her mom, they did come pick me up and we went back to the south side. I stayed with them. They were like, you're not going to a shelter. The people at the city of Evanston kept telling me like the shelter, the shelter, the shelter, because this shelter in particular had this program where they will help you find housing, help you get into some kind of subsidized housing or something like that. And they were telling me like that's why I should go there and what have you. But if you like consider my circumstances, it's not that I didn't have or I wasn't going to have the money. It's not that I wasn't going to have a good score or anything like that. I just didn't have the resources at the time. I had a job, wasn't going to get paid until a couple weeks into it. I had a credit card coming in the mail. Like, I literally just had to wait, you know. And the people that I kept explaining myself to, all these different organizations, they just weren't trying to hear it. They were just like, yeah, okay. And then the city of Evanston, like, they have this emergency program, right? There's an emergency assistance program that I was referred to. I think in the other video I already talked about it, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But it's like this program wasn't going to help me. I guess I didn't qualify because of shit. So it was a really challenging time, just trying to figure out which direction I should go towards. However, I knew that I didn't have to consider the shelter anymore, because my friend was like, you're just gonna stay with us until we can figure something out, until you can figure something out. And the kindness that her and her mom showed me is what motivated me to look every single day. As soon as I got back from work, I just sat on my computer and sat on my phone and looked and looked and looked and looked and looked, because I didn't want to inconvenience them any longer than I already had. And well, like I said, ultimately, like, I had been working towards being able to have my own place. Like, I had applied for the credit card. I've been waiting for the mail, or waiting for it to arrive in the mail. I was doing the work, and that was like probably one of the most difficult things to accept throughout all of this, you know, the fact that I was doing the work, and yet it seemed like there was just very little reward coming from all of my efforts. At least that's how I felt for a really long time. The way that I left things with the woman who was working, or the team that was working with me from the city, is I emailed one of the people, and I told her, like, thank you guys for talking to me, thank you for advising me. However, you can let Outlet's dad know he doesn't need to waste his time writing some kind of agreement. I told her I'm not going back there. I don't have any interest. I reminded her of what he said to me. He said to me in that eviction notice, he said to me, the first sentence, if I remember correctly, it said, I am still deeply upset with you over the shit that went down last week Monday. I think you need to take a step I think you need to take a step back and look at the totality of your circumstances and the role that I play. That is exactly what he said to me. To take a step back and look at the totality of the role that he plays. That is someone saying to you, I am in control of everything that you have. You better watch yourself, because everything that you know will crumble. Everything that you know, I am in control of. Don't fuck with me. That is what he was saying to me. So once again, when this person wants to fake nice on the phone with people because they went to school with him, and now they looking at him like, what are you doing? What are you doing, girl? That's why he wants to fake nice and be like, oh, I'll give her another month, but I'll continue to take and take and take from her. And then to still charge me $375, even though I would be in a different room or whatever. It's all like, nah. I was just like, I see through it. And I told her, I see through it. Y'all may know him to be somebody different, or somebody who is the same that I experience, or the same person that I experience all this shit with. But either way, I don't want to stick around to figure out how this chapter ends with him. I don't got nothing else to say. That's what I told her. And so the next morning, and then I will wrap this up. The next morning, she responded to me while I was at work, and she told me, like, thank you for letting me know. I am going to email him and let him know what your decision is. Please note that once I do this, it's going to be your responsibility to go get your stuff off his property, because he, you know, can, I guess, do whatever. I don't know if she said that part exactly, but she did say, I encourage you to go to his property immediately to go get your belongings. So I was at work. I messaged my boss and I told him like, hey, I'm sorry once again, but I have to go get my stuff. I just got a message from someone from the city who told me I need to go get my stuff right now. I texted a friend earlier and she told me that she would be able to help me get my stuff into a storage unit. Her and her father, or she picked me up from work actually, and then long story short, her and her father helped me get my stuff out of the house and into a storage unit. They even offered to pay for the unit. Thank you so much for that. I didn't allow them to, but thank you for that. Another thing that was really interesting from this moment is I found out that Outlet's dad is, I guess, connected to a lot of people. I figure with his profession and the different things that he's doing, he's probably hired a lot, contracted a lot. But what my friend's dad kept saying to me is, or no, what he said to me was, do you know who Outlet's dad's brother is? And I said, no. And he said, really? I said, no, I don't know. I don't. It doesn't really matter like if I whatever my profession is, it doesn't matter. I would be concerned to go to do that to anybody and have somebody able to walk around in this world and say I treated them terribly when I know I did. It's different when someone accuses you of doing something you know you didn't do, but it's like you knew you had every intent of using me in any way or form that you could, and then giving me whatever you could whenever you wanted, whenever you felt like it. Oh, I'll feed her sometimes. Oh, I'll take some money off her check. I'll deduct the taxes this time, maybe not this time. I'll pay her 11 this time. I'll pay her 10 this time. It's very interesting to me. Just one more reason why it's a good thing that I just severed the ties, because it's amazing how you can do so much for people, bend over for people, and still not even know who you're doing all this work for. You still don't even know like who these people truly are.